We are live. So, welcome everybody. This is another episode of Repticart Live. I am Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics, Herpetoculture Magazine. And tonight we are joined by Nathaniel and Ryan Oakes of Frog Beans. How are we doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
We're here to, it's going to be a little different than some of our previous episodes. This is a little more technical, I guess is the word. So brief synopsis real quick is just these guys are working on some really nice enclosure monitoring devices, which is probably the best way to explain it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So before we dive into that, just quick introductions of who you are and how you got into herps, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So I'm Nathaniel. I founded Frog Beans, but I actually got into herps a few years ago when I got my first bearded dragon, and I fell in love with her. And from there, my collections just kept growing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my herp collection is actually where the mother bean comes from. So,
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm Ryan. And I got into herps because of him. And he came to me. I'm a programmer. That's what I do for a living.
Oh, okay.
And he came to me and he said, "I want to build a monitoring enclosure monitoring system," because he couldn't find exactly what he wanted. So I said, "Okay, I'll draw up some plans," and kind of birthed the mother bean from that.
Yeah.
I had a feeling somebody must have been a programmer of some sort or something to be able to do that kind of thing. And it's
I like to do electronics as a hobby, and I went to school for computer science, and I do web development now. But so this has been a nice divergence from that. And
yeah,
fun little project.
Well, not completely. You did have to build the website.
That's true. I did build it.
So what made you decide to go that route and that you wanted to do an enclosure monitor? I mean, we have options currently.
Yeah.
But I know this one's a little more catered to stuff because I've used some of the other smaller little brick variety, like Bluetooth kinds.
Yeah.
And you guys released a video. You have a YouTube channel, and I checked out that video, and you had it showed the soil moisture sensor.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and bury one of my Bluetooth units because I don't think it'll last very long.
Right.
So what made you guys decide to take it a step further?
Well, one of my biggest issues when it comes to like taking care of frogs and things that live in a tropical environment is my soil would either be too dry and they would start to dry out, or it'd be too wet and things would start to rot and get icky in the cage, and I'd have to clean it a lot more than I'm supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted something that could monitor the soil moisture and tell me if it was right or not. But there's not things like that out there because, like you said, if you stick one of your Bluetooth things in the dirt, it's going to rot.
Yeah.
So, I went out and talked to him, and I was like, could we make something like this? At first, we didn't intend to sell it. I just wanted something to help me take care of my frogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, we were like, hey, people might actually want this. And so we started marketing for it and making it to where we could sell it to the public. But he went and found the parts that we needed, like the soil moisture meter. It is meant to be put in dirt like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our humidity and temperature sensor. It can withstand the intense humidity and stuff for quite a while. And it kind of just stemmed from the fact that I couldn't maintain soil moisture, and I wanted to have something to help me do that.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I've used those Bluetooth monitors. I have a few. I don't use them as much as I was, but I know I had one that I put in an egg box in my incubator, and it lasted about a month, and then it finally, when I went to connect to it to check on eggs, it was done. So having an option that can handle that, environments like that is huge.
I have an analog one in my scorpion tank right now, and it's already wearing down, and it's way off from where our mother bean reads.
Yeah, the sensors I found can stay in a sustained 100% humidity for a long period of time without breaking down, without having any degradation in integrity.
I mean, this is all fairly recent. How long ago did you guys build the first one?
About 2-3 months ago.
Yeah,
January. We ordered the parts in January.
Yeah.
We started planning it in November.
Yeah.
And he worked on the blueprints and everything and the parts we needed up through December. And then we ordered the parts and started, like the video you saw was from January or February.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it said it was about 2 months old.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was really impressive because I can hunt down the link and share it on the the Repticart page. But you had your 2 bins of soil. You took the probe, you put it in the dryer one, and within less than 5 seconds, it said it was too dry. You put in the humid one, and it said it was too moist. So it's really neat that it's got the screen and everything, and I'm assuming it's similar to like a digital thermostat where you can set the parameters. Like, how does it work overall?
The first draft is pre-programmed, but it will be, we have different models for desert biomes, tropical, arboreal, and then a special one right now for dart frogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then as need arises, it can be adapted. The next version will be adjustable. So that's what I'm working on now. So you could actually put in your own parameters.
I gotcha. So I'm sharing the screen here so people can see. This is a Repticart store. So you have the different stalks, as you call them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those can you put? So this is, I guess, what I would call sort of the brain. Is that the right term for it?
Yeah,
that's a good term for it.
Yeah.
How
many of these stalks can you plug into that?
So all of those can run at the same time. We could take special orders if need be. If somebody needed dual of any of the monitors. Mm-hmm. The brain can actually support up to 7 devices.
Wow.
So, and if the cages, the enclosures were close enough, they could, you could split that across enclosures. Mm-hmm. If need be.
Yeah. And so the difference, you have we'll go back. You have a tropical, a desert. Can you explain arboreal? Can you explain sort of the differences between those 3?
Yeah. So the desert mother bean is programmed to monitor a desert enclosure. It has hotter temperatures, lower humidity. The soil needs to be dry because if you have any moisture in there, it can hurt your desert critter. And then tropical, higher humidity, slightly lower temperatures. You need a nice damp soil for your critters to soak up some water. And then arboreal is kind of like where we live here in Tennessee, where it's humid but not super hot. And the ground's not damp. It's kind of just, it's in between. It's nice.
Yeah.
Like if you poked it, it would be like that dirt that when you feel it, it's cold, but it's wet, but you can't feel the wetness.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a set of parameters for each environment.
Now, this is the HTI beanstalk.
Yeah. That's
so this one. Yeah, explain this one a little bit.
That's the humidity, temperature, and heat index beanstalk. And do you want to explain how that works?
Yeah, so exactly as it sounds. It measures the air temperature, the relative humidity, and then it takes those 2 things, and we can calculate the heat index from that.
That's cool.
So that one can be attached to the side like you would, your analog temperature gauge and humidity gauge.
And you have a water temperature.
Yeah.
So what's the programming for? Would that work in all three of those models, or would you just do that one in more of the tropical?
It's more meant for tropical and arboreal because some critters like to have a water source that they can soak in, swim around in. So you would make sure it wasn't too hot or too cold. In a desert enclosure, you don't want a body of water because it'll up the humidity, which again can hurt your desert critter. So you could use it if you wanted to, but it's not ideal to use that one for a desert enclosure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And one of the things I was talking to Mike, he's one of the partners in Repticart. We were talking on the phone earlier, and he was actually curious. He had some questions that he wanted me to ask. And as far as the actual, like the mother beans, is that something you can access via Bluetooth? Is it remote? Is that a plan if it's not?
It is in the plans. The first one, like we said, it was just born out of Nathaniel wanting something to monitor his own system, his own enclosures with. So I didn't incorporate any kind of Bluetooth, but the next phase 2 of the mother bean will have Bluetooth accessibility. And then from there, phase 3, which is a little further down the road, if this is something that is needed, we want to make a mother bean hub where you can connect many mother beans, and it will have its own web server, so you can do that from anywhere.
Oh, awesome. I'm blown away by, I mean, I know it's probably the simplest part of the whole thing, but just figuring out how to make this thing, how to make the soil moisture probe talk to and be accurate with, the brain of the device.
Yeah, that was the soil moisture was actually one of the more difficult things to do because there's no data on it. Like, it'll say you need damp soil, but what is damp soil?
Yeah.
So that we actually put quite a bit of research into that before we started building it. Like, what is damp soil? What is moist soil?
Mm-hmm.
That was the test we ran for our YouTube video. Is actually how we got the numbers to determine what's what.
Yeah, we just kind of played around with it and figured out how it was supposed to feel. And
yeah, I spent a long time figuring out how the soil was supposed to feel in your hands, and then we got it together. My dad was like, "Is this how it's supposed to be?" And if it was, he would check it, write down the numbers, and we just kind of played with that until we got the data we needed, and then he took it from there.
Yeah, I was really impressed just with the screen. It very clearly reads if it's where it needs to be or not. And you guys have one with you that you can.
Yeah, we have the one that's in my scorpion tank. I'll go grab it real quick.
Yeah. I'm trying to hunt down the video too.
Just unplug it.
Yeah.
Howdy, Jeff.
There we go. All right.
And LP Grady asked when the next Repticon Nashville show is, and that is to be determined. It has not been announced yet.
Yeah. Maybe we can see the screen. It's kind of dark.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Let's see if we can see the screen. It is kind of dark in here, so.
I have the YouTube video pulled up if it
okay.
will make it a little easier.
We can try it.
Yeah, we can see if
you
it'll.
want to tell him why it's kind of dark. You'll have to plug this end up. It's right behind you.
Oh, okay.
And if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. How we doing, Sean?
Sure. Yeah. All right. Let's see if you can. Can you see anything?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to see me, but I'm still here.
Okay. Pick it up a little bit. Yeah.
So on this one right now, we just have the soil moisture connected and the
HTI.
yeah because there's no water source that he's monitoring right now. So
yeah.
Get it. Yeah, you can kind of see it.
Yeah, the reflection's
getting reflection.
If you pick it up a little more. Yeah, there we go. You can't read anything on it. Running. Yeah.
It's probably got a lot of red on it now. There's nothing right out here.
Yeah. And so when you're planning on doing the next model, when it comes to adding more of those plugins, do you just, would you just do them along the top, or would it kind of be on the sides?
Yeah, we're still kind of in the planning phase for the next model. Mm-hmm. So this one has 4 slots in it. And I would think, we're still kicking it around, but I would think we would just do another row up top.
Okay.
Or maybe off the backside.
So it's outside ultra. That.
Let me see. I'll share because I have the YouTube video.
Not that this is the first thought that pops into my head, but in case you're wondering, you can drop the mother bean and it'll still work.
Yeah.
I dropped it when I was setting it up on my scorpion cage, and it held up just fine.
Yep. Does great. It bounces.
Well, it didn't fall that far. It fell into the cage.
But it's funny. Build quality does mean a lot to a lot of people. For something to be able to take some abuse and still hold up. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
I think it's just people when people know when they're going to buy something that it's going to hold on and last a while.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a video showing the screen and the sort of the setup.
Yeah. This is in the very rough first stages of it.
Yeah.
Its brain was held in a cardboard box.
And Sean asked, how much can the mother bean resist? Like, how strong? I'm assuming like the housing.
So the housing we have right now is pine. When they start shipping, they'll be 3D printed.
Oh, cool.
So it'll withstand quite a bit.
Yeah, just won't chuck it across the room.
Yeah, don't throw the mother bean. That's our advice.
Yeah. And the thing I'm more worried about is the plugins. They are a little touchy. But as long as you're not super aggressive with them, they'll be fine. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the best at plugging things in, and I miss a lot. And they've held up great.
And so who are you guys sort of targeting this towards? Is it more like people with larger collections, smaller collections, breeders, just casual hobbyists? What's the plan right now?
Well, I'm trying to target more towards people like me when I thought of the idea, who are new to the herp hobby and need something to help them monitor their enclosures without a whole lot of hassle. There's some great places to find information out there, but they're hard to get to, and sometimes it's very vague on what you need to do. Like all of the soil moisture stuff I found said that it just needs to be damp. And the soil in my frog cages felt damp, but there was a bunch of water pooling down in the bottom of it, and it would sop back up through and make it too wet for everything. Like I had plants that had really bad root rot. I lost a frog and its body decomposed, and I didn't notice because it just blended in with the dirt. And it got real bad. So we're trying to target those people who need the extra hand in taking care of their critters. But right now, I've been emailing back and forth some bigger breeders to test it with their enclosure, their breeding enclosures, to see how they like it. And a few of them said if they like it, they'll buy some for their enclosures in their breeding setups.
Now, is there going to be a way to, like how we use thermostats now with the probe, on or near the heat tape at a certain level in racks and stuff? Is that something that's going to be an option too, like where you can have multiple probes on multiple racks and sort of telling you what's what?
Yes, that will be in version 2. There'll be the option for multiple temperature sensors or temperature humidity sensors or multiple soil sensors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we could build that now if it was a requested.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would just be more of a custom build than what we have prepared and ready to go.
Yeah.
Because that's my biggest issue personally is like I don't have a very large room, but I have so many things plugged into surge protectors and all the outlets and stuff that I just am constantly wanting a way to just consolidate all of that. And so there's a million cords and there's not enough twist ties in the world to keep it all organized. And so
between my 4 tanks, I've filled up like 3 power cords.
I finally broke down and bought one of the huge, like 3-footers, sort of like the industrial strength ones.
Especially for this corner where they take up like 6 plugins a piece.
And the mother bean will also run on just USB power.
Yeah.
So
where's it's over there.
Plugged in.
I have it plugged into my phone charging block right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so it uses, is it the newer Android one or is it the one previous to that?
It's the micro, like the Android ones now.
Okay,
that's what it'll be using.
Yeah, and then the part that you plug into the wall, you can just stick into a phone block.
Yeah,
that you have laying around.
Or if you have
even a lot of the power strips have that now.
Yeah.
So
so you have that free space.
Yeah. And it's got quite a long cord.
And we found a pretty good supplier for 10-foot USB cables. Yeah, so it'll have enough cabling to go wherever you need to go.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
Yeah,
because that was another issue is sort of the figuring out which of my thermostats and probes needs to be closer to the outlet because they're not all the same length.
Yeah,
and having to like go around a rack or a cage and plug it in, and it's just it's a nightmare. I finally got it to where I want it, and I'm just not even messing with it anymore. It could be better, but it's like a Rubik's cube.
Yeah, and each sensor comes with a 18-inch cable as well, so you can actually run it across an enclosure if you need to.
Depending on size.
Depending on the size, yeah. But there should be no problems with getting your sensor where it needs to be.
So what are you currently keeping? You mentioned you had some frogs. Are you a dart frog guy?
We are getting a dart frog. It's going to be our company mascot.
What species are you
getting? D. Tinctoris azuras.
Okay. So the one that's on the logo, yeah.
It's going to be Ted the Frog. And then I don't have any more frogs. I lost them, unfortunately. I had some chubby frogs, and I just wasn't ready to have them yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't revisited them since. Since the soil moisture issues.
I took a break from that, but I have my bearded dragon, Speedy. I've had her for about 4 years now, and then I have my scorpion Jafar, Had him for a few months. And then I've got Buddy and Thumbelina back here. Buddy is a red-eared slider, and Thumbelina is a Mississippi mat turtle. And then I have some goldfish in there that were supposed to be food, but they have yet.
Now they're just roommates.
Yeah,
pretty much.
the goldfish help a lot with cleaning.
Here.
And then in this tank
Miscellaneous thing.
right over here, you can probably see a little bit of the corner of it, I think. I've got 6 red claw crabs, 12 mollies, and then I don't know how many rosy red minnows in there. And then
that's a whole nother part of sort of the industry that you guys could expand into. Is that?
Yeah. We're actually working on that.
Okay.
It's going to be called the aquapod.
I'm not a fish guy, so I'm completely clueless when it comes to that stuff. You know, frogs and snakes, and I can do.
Yeah.
I wanted to give fish a shot.
I got friends that are into fish, and I can't follow any of it. You're constantly talking about betas and mollies and stuff like that, and I'm just clueless.
I got the mollies because they look pretty, and apparently when I bought them, I had a few pregnant ones. One of them's already had their babies. There's baby mollies swimming around in there. And then I've got 2 Dalmatian mollies that are on the brink of giving birth. Yeah. I think that's the only one left. But, yeah, that's my collection for now.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to get into more?
Yes, I very much want to get into snakes.
I think we all have a very long list of stuff that if money and space were no option.
Yeah.
I want to get into snakes and frogs more because those intrigue me the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried frogs and wasn't ready to take care of them yet, and my mother forbids me from getting a snake. So I have
now.
Yeah, for now.
They're not that bad. I guess I was fortunate that my parents were pretty accommodating for most of that stuff, and my mom, you know, she never wanted to like hold them or have any real interaction with them, but their presence didn't bother her. So
yeah. I'm fully on board with him getting snakes.
He told me just to get whatever, and then at first my mom didn't want me to have a reptile because she's not a big reptile person, and then she bought me my bearded dragon for Christmas one year, and then I slowly worked my way into getting more. And for the longest time, she was completely against me getting any sort of insect. Like, I couldn't get a mantis or a tarantula or a scorpion or anything like that. And now I have a scorpion, so I'm hoping very soon I'll be able to get a snake.
We'll wear her down.
After I
I mean, she's already outvoted 2-1, so.
Yeah.
Actually, she's outvoted more than 2-1, because my siblings also want me to get a snake.
Oh.
Well, not all of them.
Yeah, not all of them, but the ones that don't count.
Well, when you do, which species are you looking to get?
I'm gonna get a some sort of constrictor. I'm not sure which one yet.
There's too many choices. Just like with the frogs, man. The frogs are such a slippery slope. I went from 1 tank to 5 very quickly.
The first Repticon I ever went to the one in Johnson City. This past February? Is that when we went? Or is it in January?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, it's sometime earlier this year. I was talking to a dart frog breeder. It's actually the guy I'm going to try to get Ted from. And he said this one year he had, like, what was it, 3,000 babies?
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
He said he was just overwhelmed and he was never doing that again.
Yeah, I had just a trio of the Golfodilcian dart frogs, which are Phyllobates vittatus, and I had a trio of them in a tank, and it was unbelievable how many eggs and tadpoles I pulled out of that tank. It's just they don't stop. It was crazy.
I want to get a pair of American bullfrogs because they lay up to 20,000 eggs at a time. And there's about a 30% survival rate. So that's an automatic starter for breeding right there.
Yeah. So, Sean asked, will there be new updates on the Frog Beans channel, the YouTube channel?
Yes, I actually just cut together a video. We just got to do the voiceover. It should be up. Let's say the end of this week.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Now it's out there, and he has to get the voiceover done.
I'm waiting on you. And then I was going to record it today, but I had something come up, and I had to go help my Nana. I'm going to record how to make a proper dart frog setup. for just those three
Yeah.
subscribers we have.
Yeah, all three of them.
Yeah. Let's go. I think I actually see someone.
Yeah. So if you have, say, the soil monitor, the soil probe, is it audible or is it just text? Like, does it have an alarm on it or anything? If it's
This
too
one
low or
is-
too high?
This one is just text and it highlights in red, like you can see on the video, the previous video we had.
Mhm.
Again, version 2 will have a small speaker to alert you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, it's still very, very young.
Yeah. But if our 3D printer comes Monday, we can start making things sell if we can get some orders.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, you can order it from the Repticart site, or we have a website that you can order from too, thefrogbeans.com.
And what about like a UV? Is that something that's even out there? Like some sort of UV probe that you can, if you're using like for desert stuff like beardies or whatnot, is that something that you can even do?
Yes, it is. And actually we have one that I've used in a testing unit.
Mm-hmm.
We're still learning what would be useful. So if that's something that people would find useful and it was requested, definitely we could do that. The sensors are out there, and even the data for the UV index that each creature needs is out there. So we can do that and tailor it.
If anybody watching this actually has a suggestion for something we need to add, you can email me at bubbykid1021@gmail.com, or you can go to our website and we have a contact us form, and you can leave us a message there.
The link to your Repticart store there for anybody who is curious.
Or you can.
Nope. Link didn't cooperate.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, I mean, with the UV stuff, like I've seen like the handheld sensors and monitors and stuff like that, where you can just sort of almost like a temp gun sort of deal. But to have a probe in there that can constantly sort of tell you, I think the most important part would probably be, when your bulb needs to be replaced, when it's starting to lose its efficiency.
Yeah.
That would be a big help for a lot of people, I'm sure. Because I know I think they say you're supposed to replace them like every 6 months or maybe annually. I'm honestly not sure. I'm not a big lizard guy, so correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the comments. But a lot of people I know, like, it's easy to forget that kind of stuff and say, trying to remember the last time that you replaced it or anything like that. So having something that can tell you, hey, this thing's starting to kind of die out would help a lot.
Yeah, and we can do that. Like I said, we have one for our testing platform. That I've been playing around with. So that's something we can definitely add in even in the current version.
And with the water temperature sensor, is it so? If you have, I'm assuming it's one of those sort of bar like cylindrical heaters that people use. How do you go about gauging? Like are you able to plug in that heater into that unit and have it almost operate as a thermostat?
No, it's actually it's a thermistor, so it actually just measures. It's no output. It's just it's a wire you drop in basically, and there's a resistor at the end that measures, and then you have to convert that So a pretty complicated formula.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, even the
Yeah.
So
yeah, there we go. It's just a little probe that you stick in the water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Focus. Come on. There we go.
Yeah, it's a. So this is one of the better ones that I found for not a ridiculous price.
Mm-hmm.
These can go pretty expensive.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of defeats the purpose of having an all-in-one enclosure or a monitoring system. But so this one is accurate to plus or minus 2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about the best you can get without spending a bunch of money.
Yeah. How many of the different probes did you try out before you settled on the ones that you guys are using for all three?
Several. I'm not even sure how many. And I've read so many data sheets on all of this stuff just to get the best quality for the best price.
Right.
So it's a real hard thing to balance. Of course, there's better sensors out there, but at some point, it's going to be too expensive to even attempt. Yeah. So, but yeah, these. I'm pretty happy with what we've found, and the long-term data on these shows that they can be around for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The probes we have had them run for like a month straight, and we had no issues.
Yeah, and
that was back in the rough days. We had a duct tape and plexiglass case around it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The original case.
Yeah. It held together good, but
yeah. Well, the duct tape started to peel because of the humidity.
Oh.
Yeah.
But all the electronics still work. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean there you go. If it can withstand that and keep running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It never even dropped out.
Wow. Is there going to be an option to export? Like, is it? I don't know how easy or difficult it is to code to have it like data log, I guess, so you can export that into like a CSV file or something. Is that going to be something how difficult is that to do on something like that?
I hadn't even thought about that, but that's a good idea. We could. That could be done with a memory card.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we could actually do that. That's something I hadn't even thought about as keeping the historical data.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll start working on that. Thanks.
Yeah, I have some buddies. They spend they drop the buku dollars on like the super high tech sensor stuff, and from anywhere they can hit their button and export all that data and just look at it in like a spreadsheet and chart it and everything like that.
Yeah.
And, it's nice to be able to see if say you lose power or something, given what happened in Texas not that long ago with all the snow and stuff. If someone's not home or hurricane season. I mean, I'm in coastal South Carolina. You guys probably don't deal with hurricanes that much, but when you got to leave, sort of being able to check in, and see what's going on if you still have power, so.
Yeah, that was kind of the idea behind the hub for the mother beans to connect to, run its own web server. But yeah, I mean, the historical data, we could start incorporating that in the next version.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. So
yeah. Well, especially in incubation, like from personal experience, to get like, unless you're using sort of a traditional scientific thermometer, like with mercury, like an analog, sometimes I want to always double check that my thermostat is doing what I have it set at. And sometimes you need that second opinion. And so, to be able to track it and see that you've set it at this, and then maybe something just isn't fuses go out on thermostats, whatever. So, having something that can keep that on track and see what, how cool, like when I incubate currently, I have my incubator set at 82 during the day and then 78 at night. It's an old wine cooler, so it's super well insulated. And so I don't know if it really even gets to that 78 at night because of how well insulated it is. So to have something like that where I can look at it and say, okay, it is in fact doing what it's supposed to be doing and what I have it set at. I'm of the opinion that any data is good data. You can never have enough of it. It may look the same day to day, but then you might have that one day where, something shorted or whatever. And you can catch that kind of stuff early, and potentially save animals and equipment.
Yeah. Going off the incubator stuff, we've actually been talking about making a new addition to the mother bean that helps you control the heat and humidity in enclosures. That we're going to have mini heaters and fans.
Yeah, so there would be a forced air 12-volt heater and a cold humidifier, so it doesn't add heat into it.
Yeah.
So, and those can be ran by the mother bean.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that a lot of people, myself included, and my friends that are breeding and stuff is being able to check the climate inside the main chamber. So just the incubator itself, and then in the egg box, because that's going to change over time too. As things are developing, they're putting off more heat. There's more gas exchange, things are happening in the egg box itself. And so you want to be able to monitor the main chamber, but also the egg box and see what's going on. So that's another route that I would definitely look into.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of small stuff and small detail that I know myself included. Like I want to know for sure what's happening and make sure everything's running smoothly, because there's nothing worse than raising up some stuff and you got that first season of pairing, whatever it might be, and you end up losing eggs because something was off and you didn't know it. So
that's kind of why I want to go ahead and go on with the humidity and temperature control. If you can't be home a lot and you don't have anything to be able to view it, you have something that's monitoring it for you and trying to control it. So that would ease a little bit of your anxieties about things going wrong.
Yeah. And then Sean had a question. So what reptile should a starter get first? I don't know. Nathaniel, do you have an opinion as far as what the best starter herp is?
Well, it really depends on how much time and effort you're willing to put into it. So one of the best things to start with, from what I've read, is frogs, because they'll eat pretty much anything you put in front of their face. They don't require a lot of handling. It's actually recommended that you don't handle them a lot because it can stress them out and shorten their lifespan. And most frogs don't need a whole lot of room. Like Ted is going to live in this 20-gallon I have sitting over here, and that's going to be more than enough room for him.
Yeah.
I could actually fit another 2 or 3 dart frogs in there with him, and they'd be nice and happy. But if you're looking for low maintenance, I would recommend a bearded dragon or a leopard gecko or something that lives in the desert, because the enclosure doesn't require as much maintenance other than routine cleaning. So you don't have to, unless you live in a super humid area, you don't have to worry much about humidity, because as long as you keep it hot in there, it'll stay dry. And then, you can just make sure you have a substrate that doesn't retain moisture. So if you accidentally spill some water when you're giving your reptile water, it doesn't hold it and up the humidity in your cage. But it honestly depends on what you're most interested in and how much time and effort you're willing to put into it. But I would recommend a bearded dragon. Speedy's by far the easiest animal I've had to take care of.
They're fun. They got a lot of personality. I had 2 years ago. I've never been much of a lizard guy. I bred crested geckos a couple years ago, but I've always been a snake guy. But I really enjoyed the Uromastics that I kept at one point, and the bearded dragons. They're fun. And you walk in the room, and of course they rush to the glass and they're sitting there expecting you to give them something.
Yeah. That's funny. Mine's actually the opposite. She'll run to the back of the cage and not want you to interact with her. She's very grumpy.
Antisocial.
Yeah, but she loves it when I give her broccoli. She'll run out of her cage for broccoli. Has run out of her cage for broccoli.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like dart frogs, I remember when I was a kid, I really wanted some for the longest time. I wanted some, but at that point, they were still kind of known to be a little tougher. Especially if you're a kid with no job and because the setups. That's kind of one of the main downsides with dart frogs. I find is like the setups do cost you a little money, but long term they're actually not that expensive because pretty much once you get it planted and going, you really don't have to do anything to it. I think they're sort of the best things about saltwater tanks and none of the worst. Like my dad had got a saltwater tank at one point and it was a nightmare for him to keep up with. Like he could not keep algae away. With the dart frogs, it's awesome because it's like just once you get it set up and planted and going, there's really next to no maintenance. I had to trim back some of the plants because they would just absolutely explode. So it's perfect because if you get a species like a tink that's always out and about, you're going to see it most of the time. They're awesome. It's a great conversation piece, super easy to keep up with. Fruit flies are kind of the second downside to them is just the like timing the cultures right. So you don't run out. But
if you really want a self-sustaining food source, you can get a large colony of isopods. And as long as you don't have a large amount of frogs in the cage, they'll reproduce fast enough to make a sustaining food source for your dart frogs. You might have to top it off every now and then, but you can even mix species and they'll interbreed and make weird looking isopods. But
it's crazy how popular those have become too. I never would have guessed in a million years that isopods would be like the thing, and people that are just have just endless shoe boxes of them in different species, and the price on the rubber duckies and like that kind of stuff is just mind blowing. It's crazy.
I found a rubber ducky breeder. Their cheapest rubber ducky colony was $300 a piece. I was like, wow. You literally have thousands of those.
I've never seen them as anything other than like cleaners for tanks. They're fun to make colonies of. Yeah. And if you got multiple frog tanks and stuff, like it's really handy to have some on hand because periodically you want to add some more to it. And but as far as dropping that amount of money on rubber duckies or something, not for me. I see the appeal. Like they are, as far as pets go, they are pets, quote unquote, I guess. They are very low maintenance. They're super easy to do. And so I get the appeal, but it's just.
I collected my colony out of my backyard. I moved a toy box that was sitting out there. They were right there. I picked them up, put them in a bucket, and dropped them in a thing of dirt and threw some carrots in there. And they've been thriving ever since. They live in my scorpion cage now.
What kind of scorpion you got?
I have a black forest scorpion.
Okay. That's cool.
He's quite the character.
Scorpions and spiders, that's another very slippery slope because you can keep so many of them in so little space.
The black forest scorpions are probably going to be the first insect other than isopods that I breed because you can throw 3 or 4 in the tank and they'll breed. When the mama gets pregnant, take her out. She'll have her babies. The babies will live on her back until they're ready to live on their own. And put the babies in their own tank and let them grow up.
It's pretty cool. I bred I never kept the like that group. But I had like some bark scorpions and some other stuff. And like seeing the babies on the back, it's trippy, man. And they're so small. Like
I know.
It's insanity. I used to keep them I had like a bead organizer with a little bit of like cork bark in each one and some just like eco earth. And that's how I would raise them. And it worked pretty well. There'd be a few that would cross over and you'd end up with 2 of them living together, but it's fun, man. It's a blast. And then watching them grow and It's just fun.
I'm excited to start the breeding part of my business. We just got to get the room first.
Yeah.
Get this corner cleaned out.
So what's the plan for the rest of the year and beyond? When are you guys trying to? You have a set sort of time frame that you're looking to release work on the latest version, and what's on the calendar?
Yeah,
the timeline.
I would like to have the version 2 released by mid-year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to move on past version 1 fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And get on to version 2, and then we'll just see. I don't really have a timeline for the next version after that, but
I'm kind of hoping to be producing and selling pretty regularly by the end of the year. If I can get at least a couple of these breeders to buy it, I feel like we'll take off from there. So, they write lots of blogs about how they take care of their animals.
Mm-hmm.
And they use our stuff to take care of their animals. It'll be in their blogs, and we could ask them to put a link in their blog to our website or to the Replicart site to buy our product, and I think that would up our sales quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that's a huge. You're doing yourself a very large favor by having people tell you what they need and what they want. Like that's having open. I see that with some of the caging companies and stuff. Having that open dialogue where people are getting feedback from people about what are you actually going to use. What features do you find just completely redundant? What features do you find awesome? Like that kind of stuff does make a very big difference. And, it's even going to break down even further because everyone has personal preferences, like for me with the incubation and stuff, like to be able to have something that I can trust is on point and, that kind of stuff. Just, it's awesome when people can come to you and say, this is what I'm looking to do, and the meeting of the tech world and the herpetoculture world, it's, I think we're just kind of scratching the surface as far as what we're doing with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
We've got big plans for this thing. We just got to get it to take off a little bit.
And I see your shirt says class of 21. So you're graduating this year? Are you senior?
Yeah, I graduate in a little over a month.
Oh man, what are you gonna do after that? You got any?
I'm going to college at the University of Kentucky and majoring in biology and theater.
Cool.
Yeah, hoping to learn a little bit more about how reptiles and basically all animals work.
Yeah.
So I can get a better understanding for breeding and taking care of them. Hopefully get some better insight on how to move on with the mother bean.
So Sean asked, soon will there be a thing to track water level on an aquatic style mother bean?
Yes. We were actually talking about we were talking about what we need to replace the UV sensor with, since we're actively using it right now. I was like, well, you said there was a water sensor, right? And he told me there was. So that's actually the next thing we're going to add on to the mother bean is the water level sensor. Yeah. Because it's quite useful for vivariums because you've got so many things to check on. You might not notice that your water level's low. And like if you have fish and stuff in there, it could hurt quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another problem I had with my chubby frog vivarium. So
yeah, those things when you have the dart frog tanks and stuff sealed up, with glass lids and stuff, man, it's unbelievable how much heat those things crank out. Just the plants and stuff and all the bioactivity. Like it's, I can have the house set at like 72, but I can guarantee you it's probably in low to mid 80s in that tank.
I keep a window open 24/7 during the summer because it gets so hot in my room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 4 basically mini heaters going on. And then my fish and turtle tank up the humidity so it gets even more hot in here. It's just
the open top tank like that will definitely do that.
Yeah. Technically these have a lid, but from the turtle dock and the filter we can't put them on.
Mm-hmm. Is there something that can like a pH sensor for water? Or I guess even soil. Is that something that's doable?
There is. It's more geared towards water, but that's something that would be a little bit further down the road. The sensors for that are either really complicated, extremely complicated, to get a calculation from, or more on the expensive side.
Or both.
Or both, yeah. Some of them are both. But we do have a unit that I'm testing to get all that right. It's one that's more on the complicated side, but we can keep costs down that way. I'd rather have our life a little more complicated and keep the costs down than go for the more expensive.
Right.
So, if you were looking at this from a consumer standpoint, like if you were interested in buying a mother bean, could you give us like your opinion on it, like price wise, how we market it on the Recticart site and all that? So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, well, given that it does as much as it does, asking like the price tag on it seems fair, considering that it's more than just your traditional thermostat.
Yeah.
The stocks themselves, that's not a bad price either. If you had some sort of package deal where you get all of it in together as like a package, catered to whatever setup people are going to be using.
So the base mother bean does come with the temperature humidity sensor.
Okay.
So the price does include that.
Yeah.
And then the others would be an add-on.
Yeah. And then we just have the HTI beanstalk on there just in case, someone, it breaks or something, they can buy a new one and replace it. Or if they need an extra one.
Yeah.
And when you said you're going to be doing 3D printed housings,
Yes.
Are you familiar with like CAD programs and stuff already?
Yes, I am.
I've heard they're pretty complicated.
Yeah, they can be. It depends on which one you use. I actually designed this one with Shaper on the iPad, which is an amazing little program. But I've used CAD for a few years, and I have it designed. I actually have the STL files ready to go. We're just waiting for the printer to arrive.
Should be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
How big is the one you guys went with?
We can print up to a 10 by 10 by 9 object inches.
So that means we can print multiple cases at once.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sweet.
So I got that one. So
that's another thing. The technology is just, people are moving so fast with it.
Yeah. I've been looking for a reason to buy a 3D printer. Glad he wanted to do this. But I've followed them for years, and just over the last year, they've dropped hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I've seen them at Sam's Club.
Yeah.
You can buy them at Costco.
Like,
you can buy just like the small where you can print like 4 by 4 by 4 for less than $100 now. That's just crazy to me.
We should have just got a bunch of those. We could have had a tiny factory on our table.
It'll take you a while to print something on the sub ones, but yeah. If time's no issue.
All right.
Yeah, so.
All right. Well, is there anything else you guys wanted to cover? We're about an hour.
Not unless anybody in the comments or unless you have any more questions.
Yeah.
I think we've touched base on just about everything.
Yeah. Well, where can people find you?
We have a Facebook page. It's The Real Frog. Is that The Real Frog Facebook? Yeah. The Facebook is The Real Frog Beans. Our Instagram is also The Real Frog Beans. Our Twitter is FrogBeans3. Really weird. I wish I could change that one. And then, of course, you can find us on the Recticart site. It's just Frog Beans. And then our website, thefrogbeans.com. And our YouTube channel, which is just Frog Beans. But weird part about our YouTube channel is if you search for us, you won't find us.
Yeah, YouTube's just kind of odd like that.
Yeah.
you know. But,
My dad was looking for us the other day to find the URL for our link tree. Right, we also have a link tree if you want to save some time. It's linktr.ee/frogbeans.
it's very handy. All right. Well, definitely appreciate you guys coming on and talking about it. Excited to see what you guys are doing with it in the future. And you guys are planning an event, sometime soon, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, we are.
we're going to the Asheville one in May.
Yes. I
Yeah,
believe that's what we decided
yeah,
on.
we're gonna book a table for the one May, whatever it is, the one in Asheville. I
All
can't
right.
quite remember the date.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, and we will see everyone on the next Repticart live show. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.